Good day, beautiful friends. I hope you're having a great day today. Let us have a little bit of tea and talk about some predictions and world events and where the world's heading right now. Some interesting things have just came out today. It is Thursday, September 25th, at just after the noon hour here in beautiful Sedona, Arizona, when I am recording this. I'm going to go through lots of questions from in the chat, too, answering your questions from all over the world. The first thing I wanted to bring to our attention is the latest breaking news. Let me see if I can find it up. Somebody sent it to me. So the Secret Service uncovered a massive telecom threat in a major U.S. city. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, says the article. Now, if we go back at least 3 years ago in my past predictions, I talked about sleeper cells. I had visions, even in channeled predictions and all the different prophecy techniques that we've used here on the channel and that I've used for you. I've seen big attacks happening in cities, New York City being one of them, being one of the biggest ones, Chicago, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Phoenix, many others. This has been a well-planned, orchestrated event. And during that Biden administration, millions and millions of people were able to get in, including many, many people that don't have the highest interest of the United States in their hearts or souls. Spirit says it's not just the United States either. Other countries too, especially European countries and allies of the United States. Same thing was happening in that 4 years of that administration. All these people, and it's still happening in other countries. Anybody and everybody could have crossed the border, and that means bad guys too. And you don't think countries like Russia, Middle Eastern countries, or others haven't taken advantage of this? Of course they have. Iran, all of them. And I told you I had visions of big outages happening and even an outage that could potentially lead to an attack. First the outage, then the attack. Kind of exactly like that movie, Leave the World Behind, that we talked about. You know, they put things in front of us in movies all the time. That's another thing I'll bring up today with the Charlie Kirk thing. A movie and how creepy it aligns with everything. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I want you to hear this first. I want you to see this. I'm not going to pop it up on the screen, but you'll be able to hear it from here.
Here we go. Listen up. The Secret Service revealing they dismantled a massive
I don't know if you can see that.
capable of crippling cell towers and jamming 911 calls. It was happening just 35 miles away from New York City, and where the UN
Look at the
General
size of the
Assembly
place.
is
If you can
underway
zoom in
at
on
this
that
hour.
on my phone there.
Tell us more, and there's a lot to know, and how this would have impacted the public is Kirk.
This is right outside of New York City.
This morning, Brian, related to not only the president's safety, but the 150 different country representatives that are here in New York City for the UN.
I forgot all about that.
The president coming into town today to speak there, and what the Secret Service found in a normal sweep in advance of this.
A normal sweep.
Bringing in the NYPD, and they found 100,000 servers.
100,000 SIM cards. 100,000 SIM cards.
The ability to mimic cell phones in one area. And imagine if you had the ability to send out 30 million text messages to overwhelm our telecommunications system, it would bring not just the city to its knees, it would really bring a big section of the country to its knees. So think about this.
Sure would.
The Secret Service has been looking at this since the spring.
So if you think that's the only one, friends, you better think again. You better think again. And I mean, you can look this up for yourself. It's massive what they have found and all the antennas and all the SIM cards, 100,000. They've set this up all over the place. These are set up all over this country, and they're set up in other countries too, including our friends over there in the United Kingdom, France. Same thing's happening. It's been happening. That's well planned. You know how long it takes to orchestrate something like that? I mean, that is just insane. Insane. This goes back to my past predictions of saying that I know that there's an orchestrated event to attack the United States and other allied countries from within. And that feels like it could be very much on our doorstep right now. With everything that's happening, the astrological alignments, the numerology that we're in, and the 9-year we're in, definitely could bring great devastation in some form or another, whether that's devastation from an earth event like an earthquake or hurricane, or whether it's devastation from attacks. And we see what's happening over Europe between Russia and the Ukraine, and that's just going to get much, much worse in the very, very near future. I'd say in the next couple weeks. And if you think that Putin's going to back down from this, you better think again there, too. It's going to take a lot more for him to back down because he's got that mentality going on right now that I'll just use a tactical nuke and other weapons that he hasn't used yet that we're not aware of, or probably our government is aware. They're aware of everything. Now, that was a really, really interesting when a friend sent me that. Really disturbing, really. Because this takes out the whole 911 system. And this was right outside of New York. What just happened earlier this year from past predictions? I said that there was going to be big outages, and that was, I think, during the retrograde, actually. But we know it was a cyber attack. The whole 911 system was out. Back in Pennsylvania, back in my hometown area, they were all out. That's not far from New York. New Jersey, remember the whole 911 outage? So they were testing. What did Spirit tell us? They were testing the system. They were testing the system. Spirit told us that beforehand, that they would test the systems with power outages and other outages ahead of time. It's exactly what they were doing. So was there a plan to do something in New York this coming week? That would not surprise me. Remember, we just had these very powerful equinox energies come in. Just all these alignments. We have Mars and Scorpio, some intense emotions running right now. And as I told you on yesterday's tea time, this energy does one or two things to people. No matter what, it's a portal of energy that pulls things towards it. So if you're in a good moment of happiness and joy, it's going to heighten that. But those that are depressed or angry or want to seek revenge, it's going to heighten that too, causing many people to make very less than smart moves in coming weeks. So that was the first thing that somebody sent me today. And that's concerning, and I do feel still strongly that there's big attacks that are going to happen within this country and other countries too. And they're going to use something like domestic terror as an excuse again to try to suppress rights even more. So be aware of that too. Be aware. They're already doing that with saying, Antifa, which of course isn't really the nicest people, but they need to throw other people into that category too, not just Antifa. What Trump did in the United States, putting them listing them as a terror-related organization. There's many others that should be listed like that too, and they're not. So there's something to that. Of course there's something to that. There's something to everything that they are doing right now. And the deep state, dark deep state cabal, who's behind it all. Especially if it goes to aligning any way whatsoever with that movie, Leave the World Behind. What happened in that movie? We saw boats, even cars that weren't able to control themselves anymore. We saw, the connection. They blamed two different countries in that. I got to go watch that movie again. But, yep. Big outages. It actually started with big outages in New York. That's what the whole movie was based around, right? Big outages. They were in, I think, Long Island in the movie, across from the city. But, yeah, there's no coincidences. Just like the other movie. Did you see the new movie? Oh, wait, that's in my notes over here. This was just posted. People are catching on to this. The 1998 movie Snake Eyes starring Nicolas Cage. This is creepy, friends. Go look this up for yourself. In that movie, there's a politician by the name of Charlie Kirkland. It's basically Charlie Kirk with land on the end of it. And in that movie, that politician's shot in the neck. Almost in the same exact spot. Interesting, right? It's even more interesting. It all happened on the date September 10th in the movie. September 10th. And it was during a boxing match on September 10th, a boxing match. And the man that in the fight, one of the men in the fight, one of the boxers, is called Tyler the Executioner. So again, we have a politician, Charlie Kirkland, who's shot in the neck as a politician in the movie on September 10th during a boxing match by one of the boxers. Well, one of the boxers' names is called Tyler the Executioner. Yeah, that's bizarre. I tell you, they put stuff in front of our faces. They projected programming, subjective programming, and all kinds of programming. So to desensitize you when things happen, or Remember, also the rule when it comes to the universal rules of dark and light, you have to always put it out, especially with the darkness. They have to put it out in front of you in some way or another. They have to tell you that they're doing it, and they do that in a manipulative way. I showed you the illuminated cards over and over again, and there's no coincidence. I mean, there's cards with 2 towers being hit. No coincidences. These cards were put out before all that happened in the early 90s. 93, 94, I believe. There's even the card that says enough is enough, and that definitely is DT on that card. Look it up, the illuminated ones. But take out the ED on the end. You know what I'm saying here. You know what I'm saying. What was the other thing? The other thing is I wanted to show you this.
Another angle of
this is from those guys at Valuetainment, and they're talking about the angle. Let me find the guy that they're talking about here.
To see this, and in that video you can see the same.
They're showing here.
The bullet coming down, and it does line up with the actual gunshot itself.
Probably can't see that, but.
Saw that? So this video was created by a friend of mine who is a Marine.
So what they're showing here, you got to look this video up for yourself, but they're showing the footage that I just mentioned to you yesterday on Tea Time, that the flash comes from the side, from the back side of him. And this is a military expert talking about this, and this is where the truth is going to come out with this whole Kirk thing, is all these experts that are going to start weighing in, including forensics experts or whoever, to start creating videos talking about their opinion and people putting the pieces together. We already know that the FBI is hiding information. No doubt about it. And that Tyler is nothing more than just a guinea pig. We also know that there's been at least 3 different people identified on 3 different roofs surrounding the building. So there's just so much more coming out. And then the old man screaming, I did it, to throw everybody's attention to him so that, of course, the person could get out of there. But in this video, they show you the guy. This is really interesting. I'll have to put a link down below, or I'll put a link in the chat room when this premieres. But they show the guy getting out of there. Or maybe that was a different video I saw. The guy in the background coming out, he had a black glove on his right hand. He had a strap hanging out of his backpack that looked just like a rifle strap. Exactly like a rifle strap, because I've seen them many times. So there's so much more to this, friends. And then his wife, just something very, very strange about that situation. Very strange about that situation. Especially being that she was, in one of the Trump pageants back in the day. And even, wasn't she Miss Arizona as well? Not that that has anything to do with it, but she even talked about how she worked for DT at one point in time. All long before Charlie came along. And Charlie was already successfully doing what he was doing and had his organization when, she was kind of thrown into the picture. See where I'm going with this? Something's not right with that woman. I don't know. I will figure it out. But as I told you before, when I feel like something's off and something's not right, it's usually not good. It's actually never really good. So I don't know what's going on, but I want to know what you think in the comments down below. Some of the questions down here is Pete is asking any predictions for the Republic of Ireland. Our friends in Ireland are dealing with a lot more. I looked up the numerology for Ireland, and that's if you actually go by the date, using the date April 18th, 1949 as the birth of the Republic. If we use that date, that breaks down actually to a master number 22. I thought that was really interesting. So you are master number 22 over there. And that breaks down, of course, to a 4 vibration. So your country, the Republic represents the 4 vibration. In general, the 4 vibrations all about structure, foundations, discipline, and it's also the 22, because you got the 22 there. It's about higher vision, leadership, because 22s are always, systemic leadership especially. But also, there's a lot of risks go with that 4 vibration. Risks of overreach or risks of hidden crisis. And that's one of the feelings I got, that there's something hidden, like a hidden crisis that's happening over there in Ireland right now. I'm not sure what exactly that would be. Something hidden, but something that could also be very transformative at the same time. Also, even the astrology points to a lot of things with secrecy, secret agendas, secret societies, and being that we're in these times that we're in, this is all going to come out. The problem that I see that's the biggest problem over there is a combination of the housing and a fight for the housing and better housing. But I also feel like there's problems that they're having with the infrastructure, mainly like the water and getting water. I feel like there's problems with the water systems. And remember, this actually goes back to earlier predictions this year, that water is going to become a big focus. Water is life. So not just for Ireland, but across the globe. But there's some kind of issues, I feel like, between the housing, between the water. And maybe they're connected. Like maybe that's the problem. Creating new housing, but finding the water for that housing. Let's have some tea. Also, I see, like most countries, again, banging of heads of people in government. It's almost like two opposing sides that just cause more friction, more and more friction. And that's where I feel like things are going to start to crumble, which they probably are. Again, I don't pay attention. I don't know what's really happening there other than the protest. But I feel like people are going to obviously take a stance. But I see a crumbling of the government and the structure there. And it feels to me like, again, a fall of power. And we might see this in Ireland very, very soon. You have a female in there. I don't know, again, what's going on over there. I don't know what your leadership, nothing about it. But I see a female falling. So I don't know if there's a female, and maybe we don't know. Maybe she's one of the secrets. But I see a female clashing and falling. I see a younger male rising up. And this may be a few years from now. I see a younger male rising up. Definitely full Irish. And definitely there to take the power back. I feel like there's something with the food that's happening there too. A little bit of the food crisis. Now I tell you, and you probably already know this, but don't trust your neighbors. Do not trust your neighbors in Ireland, friends. Especially when it comes to food, because I feel like there's some kind of clash with food in the coming maybe next year or so. And if you're in the 4 vibration, that means they're in the 4 vibration this year too. Because the planet Earth is in a 9. So 9 plus 4 is 13. 3 plus 1 is 4. So that could bring in, excuse me, the year's almost out, but illness or some type of outbreak that can happen there. But you're really forced to look at all the issues. That's the 4 vibration. You're forced to look at all the little fine details. And when we look at the fine details, that's when changes start to happen. So I do feel like in the long run, like, again, most of the world, not all the world, but most of it will eventually lead to good and positive. I see a little bit of a split or a divide, but it almost feels like a small divide, almost like you're taking a small group of people or what and putting them in their own little area, like almost like their own little state. So I don't know what that is, but I just feel like there's a divide, separation, kind of like I saw for even the United States being divided up into 4 to 7 different areas. But Spirit makes me feel that would be for the better of all, be for the good of all. Staying in the same vibrations and vibrating in the same areas will help people to get along much better in the coming years. So that's what I see for you guys there. Will any, who's this from? Amanda K. Will any of the smaller political parties in Australia get into power in the near future? Spirit says it's already happening, Amanda, in certain parts. Australia is another one I see divided into 3. I saw that earlier today, actually. I was reading these questions earlier. When I read her question, I saw that divide of 3. Divide of 3. And that could even be a divide of 3, metaphorically, talking about a divide in your political system of 3. Something new is going to rise out of Australia. But I also feel like the natives, I forget, you call them something else there, but the native people, the indigenous people, I feel like they're rising up in one area. And that could be the divide in 3. And somehow they're rising up and people are supporting them, which is a good thing. That feels very positive and good to me. But I also see a lot of big protests still happening. Kind of a little bit like what we just saw in Milan over the weekend. Not necessarily related to that, but it feels more like fighting the government, demanding a change. Not like in Milan, it was about Palestine and all that. This is different. And I see that there could be fires or something being ignited on fire, maybe a parliament or some type of important government building being set on fire in Australia. And I feel like the tensions are going to rise even more so in Australia in 2026. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you for your question, Amanda. Let's see. This is NYC Life, New York City Life. Dun, 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 dun. Hi, JT. I've been seeing many videos of Christians that are having dreams and visions about the United States being invaded and attacked by China and Russia in the near future. Do you think that will happen? I do not in the way that you're thinking it's going to happen. Because when we say an attack from China and Russia, we feel like, they're flying planes here and bombing us. It's not going to be that way. It's going to probably likely go back to what I've been predicting for years and what we started to show off talking about today. Inside attacks, orchestrated from the inside, from multiple countries. Because that's what I've been feeling for years. And I felt like there was a combination of countries connected to this. China, and we know about all the young Chinese that came across the border with no women, all the young Chinese men. That was part of it, and lots of other countries. I felt like it was a combination of Russia, China, Iran, probably a few others, but they would be the main. North Korea, all kind of. That's gonna fall off the edge. Working together, and orchestrating. Remember, also, this thought came into my mind. I remember Spirit said Russia would back out of their deal with China in the end, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if that has to do with this attack, but it's not going to be the kind of attack that you would think, like a normal war attack. It's going to be a combination of attack on our infrastructure, cyber attacks, and these people coming out from the sewers in New York City, coming out from the subways. Remember I told you they were hiding in the subway tunnels? That there's almost like a little city underneath the subway in New York, and they're hiding there, including also Chicago. So when people are going to ask this question next, when, I do not have a timeline for you. But I will say that I started talking about this at least 3 years ago. Some predictions take 2 to 4 years to fall into place. And the easiest reminder would be 2017 when I saw a pandemic and people wearing masks. That happened 3 years later. So 3 to 4 years. And then, sometimes some things don't happen. Let's hope this is one of them things that don't happen. But it's not feeling like that's going to be the case at all. And, again, look at what we opened up with talking about today and the thing that they just discovered and so forth. Is it possible, says XOXO, 31040XOXO. That's a long name there. Is it possible for someone over 50 years old to develop psychic skills rather suddenly without any training? Someone dear to me is manifesting things left and right lately and wondering, confused. Thank you. Well, manifesting would be different than psychic intuition. 2 different vibrations completely. And they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah, we're in the time of ascension. And now, if you followed Tuesday's show, you heard me say many, many times, different energies that come in, different cycles, heighten our intuition. We're in that cycle now of heightened intuition. Then we go into it again at the end of October. The veil between the worlds always gets thin. Beginning on now, actually, on the equinox, and it gets to the thinnest point around October 31st till November 2nd. And that's when we have the Day of the Dead, All Hallows Eve, and the true celebration of our ancestors. They just made it into something horror, Halloween. But if we go to the Day of the Dead, it's all about honoring our ancestors, the veil between the worlds. So, yes, people are going to suddenly start to be able to have intuition they didn't have before. They're going to notice it getting stronger without training. Now, imagine if you dedicated yourself to meditation and training yourself. With practice makes perfect, right? Now, as far as manifesting, because you're kind of confusing with the question there, but manifesting things left and right isn't really an intuition thing at all. It's learning the law of attraction, totally different thing. Both of them which I teach. I teach classes on connecting with your guides and angels through shamanic journey. I teach classes on transforming into abundance using the law of attraction. Maybe they're just becoming better at manifesting things. Could even have something to do with their astrology or numerology. It could be multiple things. Gabrielle saying, JT, do you believe in coincidences? Gabrielle from North Queensland, Australia. I do not believe in coincidences. I say it all the time. There are no coincidences. Never. Kind of like that movie we just talked about. No coincidences. None. Hi. Will Greece and Turkey go to war in 2025? Bless you and your gifts. Now, I talked about this on yesterday's show, actually. And I don't feel like it's 2025. I think somewhere in here, someone else is asking a question, too, about Greece. 2026 at the soonest. I think it would be the mid to latter part of 2026. As I said yesterday, I felt like it was Turkey that was being the bully here. I don't feel like it's big. I feel like it's short-lived. Just like a lot of the conflicts that are about to happen in Europe, because they're all going to escalate. Russia, NATO, Poland, as I've been saying for years too, Poland was going to get involved, and look what just happened with the drones and everything with Poland. It's going to be also short-lived, thankfully. Very short thing. Now, it could flare up again, but the big part of it's going to be short. I don't know how short, but short for a conflict. Same with the Greece and Turkey thing, short for a conflict. Somebody, I feel like, gets in between and kind of breaks it up. Like the referee comes in and breaks up the fight. Susan's asking, when do you see a cure for diabetes? Well, I don't have dates. I can't give you dates and times. Don't have a date or time, but they're already finding many new things out about the causes of diabetes, which is also related because diabetes is basically, too much sugar in the blood. Too much sugar in your liver is called cirrhosis of the liver. Too much sugar in the brain is what? Is it Alzheimer's, dementia? So, too much sugar in the body. So we're already making discoveries. And the best thing, it's not so much about the cure as it is the prevention. Because that's what Big Pharma wants to do. They want to cure everything, right? They want, or at least give you a medication to make you think it cures it. So I have a friend I grew up with who was always heavy, just who he always has been. But then also, as we get older, he ended up with diabetes, and then they gave him some of the Ozempic, and he's thinner than he was in high school. And now not taking the medicine anymore. So is that a cure? I don't know. I forgot to ask him if he's still diabetic. Totally forgot to ask him that. But again, that's just, that's great for diabetics especially. But just people using that are misusing that. There's doctors that are pushing it, saying, lying on insurance papers, saying that the person qualifies when they really don't qualify. What we want more than anything is we want preventative measures. We want to know what the real causes is, and we know sugar is a big cause of that. So it's more of that. And people are going to do what they're going to do. So, certain people aren't just going to listen to the preventative measures. There will be more preventative measures, and people will wake up to being more healthy in the future, and that will be the main, according to Spirit, that'll be the main thing that actually we can call a cure. But an actual cure, there'll be breakthroughs around diabetes, but I wouldn't necessarily label any of them as a cure, because there's all different kinds of diabetes. So hopefully that helps answer your question a bit. But major breakthroughs, major good stuff in that realm. Hey, fans, please keep... Someone left this 5-paragraph question. That's just too long. Just simple questions. What will happen to religions, especially Christianity, whenever we make confirmed contact with galactic beings? Well, we already are making contact with galactic beings, and this is Chelsea. That's already happening. Religion's going to change and shift, and it's not going to become religion as much as it's going to be spirituality. And there will still be that Christianity, and the Christian and Christ will always still exist. He ain't going nowhere. And I was shown differently in ayahuasca because we would say Jesus, and many would say it's Yeshua. But in my ayahuasca journey, when I saw the energy it was Christ, and it showed me I am Christ. It was beautiful and amazing, actually. And you could still say Jesus, but that's not what that energy said. I am Christ, the Christ energy. And I tell you, people talk about, again, ascension or even the rapture that never happened, by the way, as we noticed. Today's the 25th. We're all still here. Nobody left. Nobody got taken away that we're aware of. And little UFOs. Not the rapture, but Jesus returning. They think is physically. As I've been telling you for the longest time, it's going to be consciously. What would be the most powerful way for Jesus to shift humanity? Through our consciousness, the Christ consciousness. As we reach higher vibrations and higher levels, that would be the rapture. That would be you ascending to the consciousness of Christ. You're not leaving. It's still the same planet. It's just a different vibration, a different frequency. And those on the lower frequencies or lower vibrations may cease to exist when we reach that new earth in the future. So I wouldn't call it religion. I would call it consciousness, spirituality. And that's one of the things that galactic beings will teach us, and how it's all connected to one. Because it's all connected to one, the divine. Yes, I believe that we are in a soul group in return to change roles. Do you think that your soul group includes people we have never met? For example, I love watching your content, and I felt that I learned from you, but I have never met you. Thanks for your time. We don't have to physically meet for that to happen, especially today with social media. Absolutely. Things happen, and that's part of our life review when we die. We go through our life review, and we're shown all the things that we did that hurt people or changed their lives in a negative fashion, the negative aspect, and then we're shown the positive and the people we've touched and the lives that we have changed. And sometimes we can do that without actually, having contact with them or meeting them physically, especially nowadays with social media. We see all kinds of inspiring things on social media and things that change people, both for the better and, again, for the worse at the same time. And that will come up in your life review. And that was Tracy from England, by the way. Here we go, Tracy. Thank you, Tracy, for your question. Please ask Spirit, can Lyme's disease be passed to mother's child in the womb? If the mother has the disease for a good length of time, or medication never cured it to begin with. Spirit says yes, of course, but it's more rare than you would think that it's common. But sure, it's possible. Absolutely. But it's rare. That's what the spirits say. I am not a doctor, so seek medical advice always. For entertainment purposes only. Next we have, from Geneva. Was the red heifer burned real hairs? Yes. We talked about that before. I told you. They made it look like, it's a mock, we messed up, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like, they don't tell us the truth about everything. And I feel like they wouldn't really want us to know. Because that would really anger, especially people in the Muslims that know the prophecies. Because the whole prophecy, of course, is to bring, back the third temple, build the third temple. How are you going to do that when there's something in that place right now? And, that reminds me, go back to my past predictions a few years ago, actually, where I saw some kind of an explosion happening right there near that Temple Mound, wherever they are going to build this temple. So, yeah, it was real. Do you think there will be a battle between Greece and Turkey? I already covered that question. When you say the aliens are here, where do they stay? They stay at the Hilton, darling. They stay at the Hilton. Anyway, there's nothing like a Jet2 holiday. Where do they stay? Are they in the sky or in our sky? I'm wondering how they observe after reading our news, etc. Blah, blah, blah. I've talked about this again a million times too. There's ones that live right in the center of the earth that have been here all along. They're not alien, but we may refer to them as alien. We know the whole story about that. If you look, Journey to the Center of the Earth. So, they could be called aliens. We also have ones that live up in the Arctic. Others that live in the Arctic, because the access to the center of the Earth is in the Arctic. But there's others that live in the Arctic. There's deep in the oceans, way deep in the oceans where we can't even go because we haven't figured out how to get that deep. There's also portals in the ocean that help them, wormholes that help them travel into different dimensions. Remember, a lot of these are dimensional beings too, so they're walking around. They could be walking right by you and you would never even notice they were there. They also have cloaking devices, and they can cloak things that are in the sky. So they could be right in outer space. Remember, Spirit said there was a space station in the sky that we just don't see as a space station for aliens, which many people will say is the moon. There's definitely something about that moon. No doubt about that as well. So they're all over, and they've been here all along. And that knowledge and wisdom just can come out sooner and sooner. Sooner and sooner. It's exciting times indeed. You know, when I was in Peru, my whole journey with ayahuasca, I saw the aliens. I saw the Galactic Federation ship, which I wasn't, I don't disbelieve something, nor do I fully believe something, but I'm the type of person you got to prove things to me for me to believe it. So again, I never disbelieved or dissed the whole Galactic Federation. I never fully believed in it either. Again, nobody's proven it to me, and I don't believe what people say they're talking to whoever they say they're talking to. I don't believe everything. I take everything like a grain of salt, and you should too. Ayahuasca took me on that ship, reminded me of Star Wars. All different beings, all working together, and it was a brief trip. Then I was taken on another spaceship. They took me to this other planet. It was pretty wild and interesting. Showed me what happened to me at Bradshaw Ranch. If you don't know about that, you can go into my YouTube channel and look up Bradshaw Ranch. There's at least 4 or 5 videos I did about that. That's out here in Arizona. It's kind of like Skinwalker Ranch. Not good things. So they're already here. Go watch those stories, Bradshaw stories that I did. Do you see another war like the 90s in the Balkans? Where is the Balkans? Isn't that India? Where is the Balkans? That's taking me to Phoenix, Arizona. That doesn't make any sense. Sometimes I am geographically challenged. So let's look. Balkans. The Balkan Peninsula. That's southeastern Europe. Told you sometimes I can be geographically challenged. So that's near the, I don't know if this is correct, but the Black Sea. We already see craziness happen in the Black Sea. I just heard something about the Black Sea this morning. I can't remember what. Of course, it had something to do with Russia. There's definitely going to be conflict there, but I wouldn't say necessarily in the near future. And I wouldn't necessarily compare it to the 90s. Again, I keep getting this feeling everything's short-lived, so things that happen will be very short, quick. And that covers a pretty large area, too, at the same time. That's all I get on that. I don't know if this relates, but I also kind of jump in my brain to the Mediterranean. So there's something happened there in the Mediterranean. I just lost everything on this computer. There's something happening in the Mediterranean. Besides that, I feel like there's this rumbling happening underneath the Mediterranean. So I'd expect that there's going to be some kind of earthquake there that causes, I don't know if the ripples I see on the Mediterranean are like little waves, just ripples from an earthquake, or if it's ripples indicating maybe even some type of a tsunami event or water event that's happening in the Mediterranean. Sometimes I go from one place to another. Will Musk reunite with Trump? Darling Laura, they just did at Charlie's funeral. I told you that was going to happen. I told you way back when they first started together, they were going to have a fallout, that they were going to bang heads. It was going to be a big fallout, and they did. I also told you after that fallout that they would kiss and make up again because Elon kind of needs Trump. Trump kind of needs Elon. They kind of need each other. And they were together at apparently, I didn't watch anything with that funeral. I could really have no interest. But I heard someone talking about they were there together. I think I read it, actually. I read it somewhere. So, yeah, of course they're going to kiss up and make up again. And they'll probably have another fallout again at the end of it all, too. But, yeah, they're going to kiss and make up. And I told you just recently, I feel like something's happening with Tesla. I don't know what, but I feel like their stocks are going to drop because of it. So I don't know if there's like a cyber attack happening or something that happens. Maybe, why do I see explosions? I don't know what's exploding. I could take this metaphorically too, is like if I'm seeing an explosion at Spirit saying, things are about to explode at Tesla. So let's put it in that way. That's how I would take it. Things are about to explode, and not necessarily in a good way either. Someone's asking Linda, do you see Tyler's folks as being part of Charlie Kirk's unaliving? No. I see them as a part of the orchestrated plan, but their son Tyler didn't do it. I've been telling you that all along. He's just a plan. He didn't do it. And his parents allegedly turned him in. It's all part of their little psyop. This thing's crazy. This is just like wild. It's even crazier than the attempt on DT. This is even weirder. Like so much is happening with this. I told you it's all going to come out. All the truth's going to come out. In the future, will you do some map scrying about the U.S., about the United States splitting up? As a former Levitowner, I am currently in KOP, King of Prussia. This is Pennsylvania, for those that don't know. Resident. Just wondering where my family should end up. My astrocartography map doesn't resonate for me. That doesn't make sense. Why would it not resonate for you? Did you visit all the places your lines went through? Because especially I would have to pull it up. I forget what color line. Each colored line means something different. And here's the thing. You end up where you're going to be most joyful. Don't focus so much on the breakup of the states. Just like I have clients constantly that will schedule and want to know where they should move their family. Spirit will never allow me to tell somebody. Now, if you were torn between 2 or 3 places, I could break it down for you in most cases. Not all cases, but most. Spirit won't tell me that's part of our soul's journey. Figure out where we fit the best. And the whole goal is to go somewhere that brings you joy and happiness. So if you're in KOP and that brings you joy and happiness, then stay right where you're at. Don't worry about it. Worrying about it isn't going to help you any. And your astrocartography, for those that don't know, astrocartography is where you put in your birth date and your time and place and all. And it creates the lines on the map from different planets, and different planetary lines can show where we should and should not live or reside. And I know that I didn't really have any lines as beneficial on the East Coast as I do as the line that goes right through where I live now. Definitely different. But my line, it goes through Sedona, goes all the way up through Utah, Canada, and all the way down into the water. So I could go and visit any of those places along that line. So think about that. But I'd say stay right where you're at if it brings you joy and happiness, not to worry about it. And remember, the kids, your grandkids, or the rest of the family, that's their journey. That is their journey. They will be exactly where they need to be when things happen. And what time is it? We're almost out of time because I have a client in a little bit, and I got to hurry up and get this uploaded. Where am I? I'm losing my spot here. I think I ran out of questions at the bottom down here. What do you think about the FDA's statement on Tylenol regarding use during pregnancy? May be associated with increased risks of neurological conditions such as autism, ADHD in children. Is this true? Or just another lie? Clarissa, follow your heart, love. Follow your heart, love. Your heart will tell you. Like, why all of a sudden this sudden attack on Tylenol? Let's just put it that way. We know as feet of... I'm going to be like Trump and not be able to say the word, even though I know how to say the word. Acetaminophen. We know about the problems that it can cause. And, of course, pregnant women have to be aware of everything they take. Doesn't matter what it is. They even say even alcohol. Anything can affect the child. Well, we know there's something deeper to this. Of course there's something deeper to this. Of course there is. And hey, if you're in pain or you have a really high fever, you're pregnant, take what the doctor tells you to take. That's probably going to be Tylenol. But of course, always get your doctor's advice. Any thoughts on the private plane that was at the small airport near Charlie's event? Was it involved? Indeed it was. That's how the man with the black glove got out. That was the distraction. Again, that's just too obvious that it was involved just because the tracker was turned off and turned on. That's illegal. You're not even allowed to do that in the United States. And only people that do that are usually, 3-letter agencies and such. Will Gavin Newsom be removed from office of California soon before he puts the state further in the dumps? Unfortunately, Bicky? He's not. He is a WEF plant. He's not going anywhere. I hate to tell you. Not until maybe the next election. I don't know when that is for you all. Someone else asked the same question. When is California getting rid of Newsom? He is horrible. That's Barbara in the chat. The 2 questions in a row. Isn't that funny? Yeah. I think a lot of people would agree with that. And unfortunately, he ain't going nowhere. And he's so ego-driven that he will fight. He's not going anywhere. Have you any knowledge about the start of a big conflict in Europe? Could it be this year or next year? I have this feeling it could be next year. Thanks for your good work, Joseph. Always a pleasure to hear your voice. I don't know what's your name. Please no. I don't know what that screen name is. It's already started. It started when Putin started with Ukraine, so the conflict's already started. So more of the question would be, is it going to escalate? It's going to escalate very, very soon, actually, especially end of October into November, maybe even right before Christmas. And then I feel like there's a moment of silence, probably for the holidays. Maybe there's an agreement of peace for the holidays, but something reignites. So 2026. But as I've been telling you, it's very short-lived. Very, very short-lived. We'll do this last question because this is a good one. Because someone's asking, remember, I had a vision, I think this might have been 2 years ago, where Spirit simply said, the dead will rise and be alive again. That's all I got. The dead will rise and be alive again. So Furious Fontes in the chat is asking, dead coming back from previous predictions, any update? All I get is soon. Soon you will see. Soon you will see. There will be many things will be revealed. The dead will rise and be alive again, and not as zombies. Interesting. They won't tell me who. I've never gotten a who with this. I've asked, Spirit hasn't shown me. I guess it's part of the big surprise. There's big three that I see, 3. 2 and 1. Divide them in 2 and 1. So 2 males and a female. Or I'm dyslexic and it's 2 females and a male. But there'll be 3 that'll all rise around the same time. And I don't necessarily feel still in the near future. This could be within the next couple years. This also can also point out, come to think of it, like the clones, like the 2 Bidens and the 2 everybody else. And, then of course the conspiracy theorists, they really crack me up. Like the new one with Charlie Kirk. Oh, that was a hologram projector behind them, not a camera. First of all, if you know anything about hologram projectors, there'd be mirrors tilted within that space and in that stage. There were people on the side, so if there were mirrors tilted in there, people would have got a side shot of that. You can't just do a hologram without the mirrors. So, no, rule that one out. It was a camera with that card that they hid very quickly. And that footage will come out. And not that it even matters, because we already see where the bullet and the shot and all comes from. You can't even hide that truth right there. Too much good footage on it. Too much good footage. And I just went totally ADHD thinking of that. And I don't know where I was. We were talking about the dead rising and coming alive again. Maybe Charlie Kirk. No, he's gone. His wife just creeps me out. There's something about his wife that just creeps me out. I don't know what it is. I hope the spirits show me sometime soon. I hope you show me sometime soon. But that's all I get. And that's what I'm going to leave you with for today. I very much hope you enjoyed today's content. Please do hit that thumbs up love button and show that love. Get them algorithms to show more predictions on your website from this channel and other channels that are similar. That's how you make it happen, friends. That's how you discover new content. Click the thumbs up button on the content that you like, and you'll get more content like it. Other than that, a big thank you to all the subscribers and then all the supporters of this platform. You can join monthly down below as a monthly supporter or on the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit platform. You can find more information about me on my website, spiritmanjt.com, josephtittel.com, Tittel. You can find all the links down below in the description. Until the next time, friends, I hope you have a great weekend. Remember to be bold, be true, be kind, be you, baby. Let your light shine ever so brightly. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste, and much love.